Greetings, internetizens. This is Elmerthien playing Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. In the last episode, the storyteller took the stand and revealed that this is all a science facility. He's researching hypnogas here. It's in the flowers, it's in the ink. And he really doesn't want Espera to remember the legendary fire. And the Bezella was made up by the ancient civilization that was there. I was just a little girl then. It happened during the annual fire festival. Everyone was gathered in the town square for the fire festival, and I was watching them from the bell tower. The great witch Bezella awoke within me and brought calamity upon the town. An enormous fire dragon appeared. I was trembling with fear, terrified by what I had summoned. Witness what you have told us wasn't a bad dream or a fairy tale, but what you actually experienced? Yes, it was. Like I have already said, I remember it very clearly. The heat from the fire, the smell of smoke. Espela, what are you talking about? The defense may cross-examine the witness. Thank you, Your Honor. Was there really a huge fire that destroyed the town? And what about Bezella? Is she even real? What about the dragon? What if Bezella is the dragon? The answers are in Espela's testimony. Do you remember what age you were then? I'm not quite sure, but I think I was 6 or 7. Not that ancient then. I mean, the fire can't be that old. I think that might have been already established. And how old are you now? I'm 18 years old. That means those events did take place more than 10 years ago. It's very odd that you have memories that old, but perhaps you're mistaken about your age at the time. It's the trauma.
Objection.
Your Honor, no one besides Espera has witnessed the legendary fire, which would mean that the incident occurred before Labyrinthia was created, over 10 years ago. Yes, I suppose that makes sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. How many times do I need to tell you? There are no witches, no magic. The legendary fire is just a story. This interrogation serves no purpose. Mr. Cantabella, the court asks you to be quiet during another witness's testimony unless you are asked to speak. Could you tell us a little more about this fire festival you were watching? Yes, it seems to be an ancient custom in this area. A fire festival. It could have been an accident. The townspeople make a fire offering to the great witch Bezella, so that she will not bring misfortunes upon them. A great fire is lit in the middle of the town square. The festival lasts all night long. That's correct. The festival takes place once every year. It is quite magnificent, with all the townsfolk assembled in the square. Unless it is a counterfeit memory imprinted in our minds by you. No, this festival has been held here since before I was born. It appears to be a very old custom indeed. By the way, why were you in the bell tower in the first place? You know, you said everyone was at the town square. Why weren't you there? I can't remember. I probably went there because Bezella awoke within me. Despite having vivid memories of the fire, you do not remember much of anything else that occurred at the time. Yes, I was at the top of the bell tower, looking down at people in the town square. Someone was with me there. Ah, that's right. It was Eve. Eve? Her black cat, huh? I didn't think Eve was that old. Well, then... I mean, 10 years... yeah. A cat could be 10 or maybe even 14 years old. Do you remember casting a spell? I cannot remember. You look upset, Mr. Cantabella. Ah, pardon me. Did you want something? I'd like to know what you think about Espella's last statement. My opinion about all this has not changed since last time. It's all just a dream. Listen to me, Espella. You are not Bezella. There was no legendary fire. Dad, you have no idea how much I want to believe you, but I just can't. I remember what I saw and how it felt. The heat, the smoke. Magic doesn't exist. It belongs in fairy tales. There are no fire dragons either. Espella seems certain that she saw a fire dragon at that time. However, as long as we do not have any evidence to support or disprove this claim, we can't make any progress. Do I have any relevant evidence? Anything that could demonstrate that the fire dragon Espella saw as a child was real. What? Maybe there was a lizard on top of the tower that looked... and it was kinda translucent and seemed to be glowing. I don't see any dragons. I don't think there's anything I could use. I can understand your choice to be cautious with your judgment, Mr. Wright. However, I must remind you that the only way to discover the whole truth is to bring to light the true nature of the dragon witnessed by the accused. Lizards can climb. I mean, they can even climb concrete walls. And I don't mean geckos, I mean European lizards. some clues. What? I don't see any dragon here either. Maybe one of the thingies on the railing? One of the reliefs, it's called? Oh, that was new dialogue. The fire dragon was the same as the one today. Is something wrong, Mr. Cantabella? So I think this way was plot progression. Case progression. It's impossible. There's no such thing as magic. It's all sufficiently advanced technology. You never believe me, Dad. I don't know why you have to be like this. There was a time when things were different. Espera, what are you saying? Look at them. It's like a common argument between a teenager and a parent. Mr. Cantabella created this town. He knows better than anyone else that there's no magic here. Miss Cantabella. Yes? Would you mind giving us more details of what you saw? Could I borrow a sheet of parchment and a pencil? I think it will be better if I draw it. Your request shall be granted. Bring parchment and a pencil for the witness immediately. Well, that's a dragon. This is it. This is the fire dragon that I saw that night. I only caught a glimpse of it, but it was real. Not even blip in the ellipses. I mean, it's weird when there's blips on an ellipse in some of these games. I must say, it does closely resemble the supposedly magical creature we witnessed this evening. It does indeed. This drawing shall be added to the evidence. This is a farce. What happened over a decade ago? Was the town really destroyed by a fire dragon? Discovering the truth about the dragon shall be our next objective. Or was it destroyed by a multi-elemental dragon? Witness, continue the testimony. Yes, my lord. Yeah, this is the end. There's no point to this whole trial. We know that, but that's not enough to end it. Why? The professor has taken on the role of inquisitor in this trial in order to get Mr. Cantabella to testify. He wants to get to the bottom of this mystery and learn the whole truth. Besides, I think this will be in Espella's best interest too. I trust the professor's judgment on this, so I'll carry on with the cross-examination. Well, I trust you, Nick. I'm sure you know what you're doing. What? Present the dragon picture? Wait, there's new stuff in the menu. Hela is back. Professor is an inquisitor. The storyteller is on the stand. That's some fancy drawing.
Objection.
Nope. Can you tell me more about that fire dragon? That monster's image is still so vivid. It looked just like the one that attacked Dad this evening. I've done something terrible again. Then you are sure that the fire dragon you saw more than 10 years ago and the one you summoned this evening were exactly the same? Yes, they were definitely the same. But Espella, magic isn't real. Therefore, the dragon summoned by the spell Grindworm doesn't exist either. But I did see it. I'm not lying. I saw it just for a moment. I'm sure of it. It's like talking to a wall. There's no convincing her. There may be another explanation. Espella might have seen something in the shape of a dragon. All right then. Nick, Mr. Cantabella wrote this town story, right? Well, yeah. So he's the author. This is just the end line.
Hold it.
I think that whenever Bezella takes over my body, my consciousness drifts away. But I'm sure of it. There's no mistake about me being Bezella.
Hang on.
You look upset, Mr. Cantabella. Pardon me. Did you want something? I'd like to know what you think about Espella's last statement. My opinion about all this has not changed. What do I do now? What now? What now? Your Honor, what is it, Defender? The defense will present evidence. Evidence? I suppose you mean evidence that will prove that my daughter's memories of the dragon amount to nothing more than wild imagination. On the contrary, I'm pretty positive Espella did see the dragon. What? I thought you had more sense in you. That was loud. Well, aren't we all curious about what the defense has got to show us? Present evidence that proves a dragon appeared in this town over 10 years ago. Wow. I don't know. There might have been some depictions of dragons. I don't know. It's just a spell's drawing of it.
Take that!
What am I doing? Well, how about this? Mr. Wright? Getting my voices mixed up again. You just said aloud, how about this? Was that addressed to... No. I don't know, this is only evidence that he's an excellent artist.
Take that!
It is, of course, a spell's drawing of the dragon. It's impossible to draw a dragon with so much detail unless you've actually seen it. How good is... Now, how much do you roll on deception? It's a good thing you've got the good paladin charisma. I mean, that you've put up your charisma right behind whatever. Right next to Constitution. Indeed. And it looks very much like the fire dragon we saw this evening. It cannot be a mere coincidence. Good paladin stats. That's what I wanted to say. You can't possibly use that drawing as evidence. And why not? Because she could have just drawn the dragon from this evening. Dad, why don't you believe me? I saw that dragon when I was little. This town is my creation. I know everything about it, and I assure you there's no magic. This town is your creation, but what about the ruins? If there's anyone who can tell you what's possible and what is not, it is me, the creator of Labyrinthia. Your overconfidence. I thought he said I somehow expected will be your downfall, has clouded your judgment and is preventing you from seeing the truth. What do you mean? In order to see what is really there, you need to reject biased assumptions and keep an open mind. And maybe don't accept any food or flowers or stuff from Darklaw. You are overlooking certain facts precisely because you are the creator of this town. It's nothing short of insanity. This town isn't very old. Magic doesn't exist, and yet Espella says she saw a fire dragon. It seems like a contradiction. But perhaps it is not. Mr. Wright. Yes? The solution to this mystery is out there. We just need to find it. Do you suppose you know where it is? Magic doesn't exist. Espella saw a fire dragon. Where is the evidence that bridges the gap between the two? She saw a fire dragon from the tower. Let's in her perception. There's only one way to explain this contradiction. Espela somehow saw the dragon, but it wasn't a magical creature. Then will you just tell us what it was? That event took place over 10 years ago. What she saw then should still be in the place where she was at the time. It's still there. Yes, Your Honor. And that place is the belfry. It's in the belfry? At least there's no beds in there. Nothing important. Over 10 years ago, the witness was standing somewhere around here when she saw a fire dragon. Am I correct? Yes, Mr. Layton. However, what was it that you actually saw then? Let us see if we can find the answer to that question. Why not? Go ahead and try. But I have warned you that it's futile. You will find nothing here. Well, it happened a long time ago. Whatever she saw might not be there anymore. And if we wanna see exactly what she saw at the time, we'll need to set the whole town on fire. Want me to go get matches? I may be an attorney, but even I couldn't clear you of the charges if you actually committed such a crime, Maya. I will pretend I did not hear that. Shall we begin? Let us look for the fire dragon. We can see the whole town from here. Look in every direction for something that would resemble Miss Cantabella's drawing. Here it is.
Take that!
Espera, can you have a look at this? It looks like the dragon was hiding in here after all. Oh, this is... Hey, that's identical to the one Espela drew. But it's not the fire dragon. The fire dragon was a creature made of flames. It was so big it could swallow this whole tower. Because you were seeing it over the horizon. Because you were a small child looking straight through the railing. This is just some tiny fretwork. I think we can consider this mystery solved. I suggest we all head back to the court. I will explain everything there. Is that all right with you, Mr. Cantabella? What's gotten into Mr. Cantabella? He looks paler than you do with a cold. And Phoenix might have some traumatic memories of having a cold. I have no idea. Let's follow the others back to the courtroom. Then again, he also had a cold the first time he met Mia. Not a very good time for him. The Inquisition's investigation seems to have yielded some unexpected results. But can someone explain them to me? Your Honor, the Inquisition will interpret the results of its investigation. Witness, you said you were about 6 years old at the time of that incident. 12 years is... well, the cat would have to be somewhat old. Yes, that's right. Did you see the moment the dragon appeared above the town? No, I don't remember. I remember seeing it at some point. It was like a flash. The town was ablaze, and this fiery beast was hovering above it. Then when you noticed the dragon, was the town was already engulfed by flames? Yes. That information completes the picture. Miss Cantabella's statement has offered me an insight into the true story of the fire dragon. Over 10 years ago, Miss Cantabella was in the belfry, unconscious. What events led to this? Perhaps we will discover that in due course. When she awoke, the whole town was on fire. Having inhaled much smoke, she was still dazed. She was only vaguely aware of her surroundings, but when she looked up, alarmed by the scorching heat, unable to stand, she was on her knees. And then she saw something she would remember her whole life. Cutscene? She saw a terrifying fire dragon attacking the town. She saw it through the fretwork in the balustrade. The shape of a dragon against the backdrop of the town being swallowed up by flames became imprinted in her memory. That is the truth about the fire dragon. This is what I have deduced. It wasn't a monster? Miss Cantabella, the illustration you have drawn for us bears an uncanny resemblance to the fretwork in the belfry. You saw the dragon when you were confused, possibly mildly asphyxiated from the smoke. There was no magic and no magical beast. You believe a stranger but not your father. That's so typical of teenagers. You should have listened to me. And now that all the mysteries have been unraveled, can we not end this trial and go home? As much as we'd all like to, I'm afraid it is still a bit too early for that. What else do you want from us? There is just one more problem I'd like to solve tonight. One more? What on earth could it be? Miss Cantabella, we've ascertained that you were in the belfry when you saw the dragon. However, that creates a new question. How did you get there? It wasn't locked? Children are curious? Oh, I haven't thought of that. Yeah, neither have I. Oh. As expected of an ace attorney, Mr. Wright seems to have noticed the problem too, at last. In order to access the belfry, you need to use the bell tower mechanism. Alright, she was in the restricted area of the tower. The mechanism can only be set in motion with the pendants. Oh, the two pendants, yes. Indeed. Miss Cantabella, did you have your pendant with you at the time? Yes, I think I did. I always had it with me. But why did I have that pendant? I can't remember it at all. This pendant is not just for show. It's the key to the belfry. Why was she carrying it around? We must also not forget that one pendant does not suffice to operate the contraption. 2 of them are required. 2 attendants? Miss Cantabella, are you certain that you were alone in the belfry? Did you put a necklace on a cat? No, I wasn't alone. I was there with a friend. What friend? Eve, where did you go off to? The friend you mentioned, was it this cat? Yes, he's my best friend. We've always been together. Without Eve, I would have been so lonely. That kid is always appearing out of nowhere to keep a spell company. Could she be a secret demon? Of course she does. After all, Bezella is always accompanied by a black cat. What you saw from the bell tower when you were little was so terrifying that even an adult would have been scarred for life. The town burned in front of your eyes. You thought you saw a fire dragon. You see, your memories have been twisted by the horrors you saw. What do you mean? The dragon you saw wasn't real, and I suspect that the friend who was with you in the bell tower might not have been that cat. Well, it is possible that her father gave her a replacement cat, but yeah, Eve could also be a human's name. No, it was her. It was Eve, my only friend. Miss Cantabella, the pendant needed to access the belfry is too large for a cat. Are you following? If Eve was with you, it would have been impossible for you to enter the belfry unless she was carrying both pendants. Wait. Inquisitor, where is all this going? You have no right to tamper with my daughter's memories. Wouldn't be the first Inquisitor to tamper with people's memories here. You are right, of course. However, neither do you. Nor should you attempt to cover up the truth. No, you're wrong. Eve was my only friend. Think about that day again, Miss Cantabella. You went to the top of that bell tower with a friend who also had a pendant. Well then, why don't we have the defense present some evidence? Can you prove that someone was with Miss Cantabella in the belfry that day? If so, I'd very much like to see the evidence. What? Why me? It was the professor's idea. I have nothing on the legendary fire. Why ask me for proof? Right. I suppose you wouldn't have any proof. Not one of us remembers that incident. I have had enough of this, Your Honor. You have no grounds to continue this trial. Well, we appear to have reached a dead end. There is nothing else for us to do.
Objection.
Please hold on, Your Honor. Oh, what is this all of a sudden? Inquisitor Layton? The defense does not have the necessary evidence, but someone else does. What do you mean? The old picture. This time the Inquisition will present its evidence. The Inquisition will present evidence? Huh. Wait, seriously? You son of a witch! This is what you wanted from the very start, isn't it? Well, In that case, the Inquisition shall present evidence that somebody was with Miss Cantabella in the bell tower when she saw the fire dragon. Playing for the professor, playing for the Inquisitor now. Ew. Hello, ladies. Look at that kitty ears hairdo.
Have a look.
This is the proof. This photograph shows Miss Cantabella with a friend. Golly, this is the finest illustration I have ever seen. It's a photograph. It looks as if it were a reflection of the real world on paper. Tell me, who created this exquisite work of art? Well, Your Honor, I understand you are fascinated, but let us focus on what this picture shows. This picture was found in the storyteller's tower. Mr. Cantabella, we have taken the liberty of borrowing it for this trial. It's enough to look away for a second, and you already cause trouble. Professor, aren't photographs against the rules? I mean, this is supposed to be a medieval setting. We've already established that this is a scientific facility. Who cares? What's important now is helping Miss Cantabella to grasp the truth. And in this case, the end justifies the means. Please take a close look at the two girls in this picture. Each of them is wearing a pendant. Why, that's so. These are the Belfry contraption pendants. We know that one of these girls is Miss Cantabella. But then, who is the other girl? Excuse, do you have any idea? Espella, are you okay? No, she's having flashbacks. It doesn't look like she is. It's the most terrifying woman in town. It's me. And the other girl is... she's... I don't know. Espella! Your Honor, stop this trial. Stop it right now. Can't you see you're driving Espella into insanity? And you're scaring her with your yelling and banging on the table.
Objection.
It's just the opposite, Mr. Cantabella. If we turn away from the truth now, Espella will close herself to the world forever. Mr. Wright? Yes? You know who it is, don't you? You know the identity of the other girl in this picture. Is that so? If the defense knows that, tell us all who this other girl is.
Take that.
I'm thinking it's High Inquisitor Darklaw. High Inquisitor Darklaw? I cannot say I didn't have the slightest suspicion about her, but oh my! Miss Cantabella, what do you say? Do you now remember the girl next to you in this picture? I was with Lady Darklaw. This is crazy. What are you basing this preposterous claim on? But, Mr. Cantabella, this girl closely resembles the High Inquisitor. Resembles? That's just your personal opinion. It's meaningless in a court of law. If you want evidence, I've got it. What? The definitive proof that the girl in the picture is High Inquisitor Darklaw is the torn pendant. And this is the proof it was the High Inquisitor. The pendant needed for that contraption in the bell tower. I have Miss Darklaw's testimony here. She said this pendant was hers. And so, the other girl in the picture is definitely Miss Darklaw. Is it really? Eve, where are you going? I was expecting you, Miss Darklaw. I see that I was not mistaken about you. I trusted in your ability to get this far. Aha, Inquisitor Darklaw! Where did you just appear from? Does your memory not serve you well, Your Honor? You know what I am. I can disappear at will any time I wish to. So, storyteller, everything has worked out just as you had written, oh revered creator of Labyrinthia. Darklaw, Lady Darklaw. Miss Darklaw, did you enter the belfry with Miss Cantabella when you were little? Yes, I did. Then you have memories of events from before 10 years ago? I certainly do. Order, order, order in the court! Lady Darklaw, you were with me? Your memories have been suppressed by that man. But I was with Eve. Eve, huh? Eve the Black Cat? Yes, she has always been my dear friend. She was by my side on that day too. What a bizarre coincidence. Darklaw isn't my real name. What? Then what is your real name? It's Eve. But what about the family name? What? What? You are Eve? Oh, that's not just kitty ears, that's spiral buns. But more helix than the layer. Eve, Espella, my dear friend Eve. It can't be. That flashback, was it real? Darklaw, why are you doing this? Are you trying to undo everything I have accomplished in the past 10 years? No, you have already ruined everything yourself. What is it that you want? What I want, my aim is to make the truth known, so that everything returns to how it should be. Just tell the government to stop funding him. Miss Darklow, will you tell us what you remember about what happened back then, more than 10 years ago? It would be my pleasure. It was the day of the fire festival. Espella and I went up to the bell tower. The wind was strong that day. When the sun had set, the festival began. It's true that the whole town burned down that day, the fire consumed buildings and people turning them into ashes. We were the only survivors. We stayed in the belfry while the world below us was being eaten up by hungry flames. Sorry, I thought I was gonna sneeze. The legendary fire is no fable. It happened more than 10 years ago.
Objection!
There are no such things as magic and fire dragons, so how could a whole town be destroyed in just one night? Someone was careless. Yes, that's something I'd like to know as well. Even if we assume the celebratory fires got out of control, surely the whole town wouldn't have perished like that, unless they were asleep. The Bell of Ruin. Now it all makes sense. That was the missing piece of this puzzle. What do you mean, Professor? I can imagine now what transpired that night. What happened in the belfry and what caused the legendary fire. We have all the clues we need. If the Inquisition has evidence to show us, I'd very much like to see it. What caused the legendary fire? Everyone was asleep. The cause of the fire is in the belfry. It was the bell. That bell had been made by the natives and later sealed underground. It was called the Bell of Ruin. Bell of Ruin. By the way, why does this bell have such an ominous name? And why did the appearance of the tower horrify the alchemists so much? Could it be because it's made of pure silver? Pure silver? Exactly. Mr. Cantabella has told us earlier that everyone who lives here has a very peculiar condition. This condition makes people fall unconscious upon the sound of a certain metal being struck. And that metal is pure silver. Yes, and we've been told the condition is brought about by drinking the groundwater. Indeed. That bell was also the reason why the original inhabitants of this area decided to forsake it. It seems that the Bell of Ruin caused a devastating disaster. To those who have gained entry into this sanctum, heed our words. You must not ring the Bell of Ruin. I can't help but wonder what disaster this bell had caused. An enormous bell made of pure silver, and the locals with their peculiar condition. It's not too hard to imagine what happened. It was probably the same calamity as the one that happened over 10 years ago. And that is? Well, what disaster happened to this town before Elmerthien was built? The legendary fire. Now, Let us contemplate the following scenario. What would happen if the bell of ruin were sounded during the fire festival? Oh, everyone who heard it would fall unconscious. As it was an annual festival, all the townspeople were assembled in the town square. Oh dear! Therefore, on the night of the fire festival over 10 years ago, all the residents instantly lost consciousness when the bell was struck. Oh no! Had it been even just slightly windy that day, the fires lit for the Great Witch Bezella would have gone out of control, and they would spread throughout the town with no one left to stop them. Because everyone was unconscious. Exactly. That also includes the two girls who were in the belfry. Espella and I. You were the closest to the source of the sound, so it was inevitable. When you recovered consciousness, it was already too late. The town had been swallowed by flames, as if a fire dragon had come to burn it. That was a calamity caused by the bell. Calamity? You say here that the cause of the calamity is the Great Witch Bezella. That night, in this very town, Bezella was more than a mythical persona.
She's losing it again. The Bell of Ruin. Bezella!
But who was Belle? That's a reference to the Who Was phone of the story. Mr. Cantabella, I would like to apologize for putting too much pressure on your daughter. Only your words can bring her back from the brink of madness. Let her hear the truth from her own father. All according to your plan, Layton. You've driven Espella into a corner in order to push me to the wall. I had no other choice. Espella, please listen to me. You haven't done anything wrong. You didn't cause that accident. You have suffered so much thinking that you were Bezella. I must take the blame for that. You, Mr. Cantabella? I sacrificed everything to make up for what I've done. But all I managed to do was inflict more pain upon others. Is that not so, Dark Law? Now that you are willing to talk, Mr. Cantabella, would you mind telling us your story? Yours, as well as Espella's and Miss Darklaw's. Very well. This story too began when I was a young lad, and Newton and I were still youths, full of dreams and hope. As you already know, we discovered the underground ruins, and deep within them lay that accursed bell. The Bell of Ruin. At the time, we still lacked the knowledge to decipher any of the writings we found there. This bell is magnificent. It's bound to make the most beautiful sound. I have an idea. Why don't we make this bell a symbol of our town? How do you propose to do that? Let's build a bell tower for it. Then we can ring it on special occasions. That's not a bad idea. Then it's settled. When we grow up, let's do it. Okay, just don't forget about it. Not sure which one said what. Two of us chose different paths in life. I studied management in London, while Newton devoted himself to the study of the natural sciences. And then you made a fortune following the invention of a new anesthetic. We both got married around the time, and each of us had a daughter. Newton had a biological daughter? You mean Espella was born shortly after your company gained funding? Ah, yeah. Darkclaw was Belduke's daughter. That's right. When he wrote to take care of his daughter, he didn't mean Jean. We eventually returned to our hometown and set about realizing our childhood dream. Having built the bell tower in the middle of the town square, we retrieved the bell itself from the underground ruins. I'd prefer if this shape went full circle. If these two were flipped. We aspired to make it a symbol of prosperity for this unindustrialized town. The bell was to be officially displayed during the annual fire festival. It would be rung in the morning, following the night of celebration. Pardon the interruption, but at the time, were you aware of the meaning behind the bell's name? Obviously we were not, thinking back to my ignorance at the time. A chill now runs down my spine. Were the kids just following orders? Newton and I went to the bell tower the day before the festival. Only one more day to go. We've waited a long time for this. That we have. This town will no longer be the same after tomorrow. You have no idea. The bell weighed so much that ringing it was not easy. We tackled that problem by constructing a special mechanism which we installed in the belfry, so it couldn't have been the wind.
Daddy, I want to hear the bell. Can I make it ring?
Poor misguided child.
Daddy, please, let me ring it.
Espella, who was there with us, was utterly enchanted by the bell. That choice of words. She wasn't a bad child, but she was very stubborn and would rarely listen to me when she wanted something. I told her a story to try and convince her to leave the bell alone.
Espella, listen carefully. You mustn't ring this bell.
But why? Why can't I, Daddy?
You know about Gazella the witch?
She's a bit of a fire witch who uses magic to help people.
If you ring this bell, Gazella will come out and possess you.
Possess me? You mean I'll turn into Gazella?
That's right, Espella. When Gazella possesses someone, she uses them to do terrible things. That's why you must never ring this bell, sweetie.
I understand, Daddy.
There's a good girl.
The legend of Bezella has been passed around the peace parts for centuries. It probably originated from beliefs of the tribes that populated this area in the past. Celtic tribes, Germanic tribes, or the Azran civilization? What I told Espella was just a silly story that I invented for the occasion. It was only meant to stop her from ringing the bell. I could not have imagined that it would have such far-reaching consequences. It's all coming back to me now. I remember that day. On the day of the fire festival, just around the time when the preparations ended and everything was about to begin. I sneaked out of our house. I took Mom's pendant with me. Your mother's pendant? Do you mean this one? Yes, it belonged to my mom. We needed to limit access to the bell, so we made the 2 keys. We decided to make them into pendants and each gave one to our respective wives. Both are needed in order to access the belfry. I saw you and Mr. Belduke use them, so I told Eve to meet me at the bell tower.
Daddy says Gazella will come out if I ring the bell, but if I do it just a little, I want to try it while the festival is going on. I hope Eve doesn't forget her mum's pendant.
So it is just as I thought. Miss Darklaw, you are Mr. Belduke's daughter. Well done, Inquisitor. I was almost afraid you would fail to make that connection. What in the... This is too much for one day. Did he confiscate his chemicals for sentimental value? Order! Order in the court! Lady Darklaw, you mean to say you're Sir Belduke's daughter? Yes, my real name is Eve Belduke. I'm the alchemist's daughter. This is unbelievable. I also sneak out of my house that evening, clutching my mother's pendant in my hand. I did just as you asked me to, did I not, Espella?
Estella, my mum's going to be so angry if she notices I took the pendant. Don't worry so much. I just really want to ring that bell. I want to hear it.
I rang the bell against my father's warning, and so Bezella possessed me. Because of me, the town and everyone in it, they're all gone. No, it's not your fault. Stop blaming yourself. Supposedly the former inhabitants of this area also used to fall unconscious upon the sound of that bell. Perhaps they experienced a similar nightmare. It was I who brought the Bell of Ruin into this town. The one to blame for this calamity is not some witch, it's me, it's some wizard. I brought a destruction upon this town. I am Bezella. Espella, you're going to drive your dad crazy if you keep repeating that. Seeing you like this is giving me a strong feeling of déjà vu. Eve, how can you be so evil? Are you happy now? I'm afraid we're in the dark as regards Miss Darklaw's sense of déjà vu. Only 4 people survived the fire. Only 4. Espella and Eve, who were in the belfry, and the only 2 residents who did not participate in the festival, Newton and I. And where were you at the time, if you'll permit my asking? In a lab doing science? Oh, in the ruins doing science. We were investigating those fateful ruins. That's why we didn't notice anything until it was too late. It was getting near the time at which we planned to ring the bell, so we headed towards the town. Then we saw it. The town had been burned to ashes, the air shimmering from the heat. That's too awful for words. We searched for survivors, sick with anxiety. Eventually we found our daughters in the bell tower. Espella was unresponsive like a doll. He was crying at her side. Her relief at having found them vied with terror caused by the disaster. The worst night of my life ended, pierced with the first rays of sunshine. But then, it seemed Espella was already lost to us. We had lost her to Bezella. She wouldn't speak, eat, or even leave her room. She thought she was Bezella and that she had destroyed the town. I couldn't get that out of her head. What she saw from the bell tower must have been so terrifying. But it wasn't shock from what she had seen. My own words had put her in that state. Had I only not told her that stupid story. We had been grasping at straws, trying to find a way to save Espella's mind. But whatever we did, her eyes would remain impassive and empty. In the end, I came upon a certain idea that offered us a glimpse of hope. What was it? This suspense! It's too much for my aging heart. I believe I may know what it was. It was the only way to get through to little Espella. Inquisition, what are you talking about? What was Mr. Cantabella's idea for saving his daughter from insanity?
Have a look.
We discovered this in Espella's room. And that is... It's a handmade picture book. The illustrations and handwriting are truly exquisite. That's the first story I wrote. I made it for Espella after that dreadful fire. Oh, the storyteller's first story. It was but a simple children's story. The plot was very straightforward. The townsfolk joined forces to banish evil witches who serve Bezella.
Espella, do you understand now? You aren't Bezella. Bezella is somewhere out there, sending out other witches to do bad things to the people of our town.
Turning money into pumpkins. Witches, magic, the town perishing in flames. Espella was mentally broken, and I couldn't get through to her any other way. I talked to her as if magic and witches were real, avoiding any mention of that fire. Espella spoke to me for the first time in so many days. I was beyond myself with joy and replied without thinking.
Oh, yes, they are. They're hiding in the town, among the people.
But it's just a fairy tale.
I was desperate. I feared she would close herself off to me again. Now in hindsight, I see what an utter fool I was. I made an irreversible mistake yet again. You were rich. You should have gotten her some therapy.
No, it's not. Everything your daddy writes comes true. The bad witches will get their comeuppance. I will write a story about it.
And so I wrote another story for my daughter, A story about mischievous witches getting caught. This time I had the story acted out in front of Espela. You had it acted out. Back then, I wasn't the only one tormenting myself over the mental state of my daughter. Newton was going through hell too. His own daughter had been badly scarred by the event. Isn't that right, Eve? My father and I repaired a building that had survived the fire and continued to live in this town. Espela wasn't even able to leave her room. We couldn't leave her behind when she needed all the help she could get. Mr. Cantabella showed us this book one day. Then he made an unusual request of us.
I'd like to make this story real. Would you be willing to help me do so?
To our surprise, he was entirely serious, seeing that we gladly offered our help. A story about evil-doing witches getting caught and punished, and Bezella the source of them all.
Were you paying attention, Espela? Witches got what they deserve, and peace has been restored to the town.
Espela smiled at the end, then she whispered to herself,
It wasn't me.
When I saw her smile, I felt as if something broke inside me. I couldn't afford to let her be sad again. Maybe if Bezella were to exist in this town, Espela would stop thinking she herself harbored the Great Witch. I continued writing stories about witches, even I would act them out for Espela. And gradually, the number of characters in my stories increased. That was of course largely due to the ongoing reconstruction of the town. How much reconstruction? It wasn't anything on a big scale. I simply paid people to move on and act out their roles. But I began to think that I would need more than that. The story had to be real. To make a lie seem true, you resorted to even more lies. Yes, I was certain that was the only way. How did I do so? I remembered about Newton's research. He was working on a certain medicine. It was a kind of tranquilizer made from local plants that he was testing at the time. But it was difficult to put it into practical use. The substance had a danger of causing unconsciousness and hypnosis. I can see how that could be abused to cause much harm, supposing it fell into the wrong hands. At the same time, it was just what I needed for my ambitious project. I contacted the government, and that was the beginning of what came to be known as Project Labyrinthia. A town with human test subjects, all in a state of long-term hypnosis. You devised that plan solely for the sake of your daughter? Yes. We acquired the land which had been laid to waste by the fire. The new town was slowly becoming populated. Gradually the rules of Labyrinthia were established. It was to be a town where magic and witches were a reality to the residents, all of which was possible thanks to the drug. The test subjects were exposed to it. Through the ink used to pen the story, right? That's right. It was the dangerous drugs developed by Newton. About 10 years have passed since then. Even now the town continues to change. Project Labyrinthia. And all this was done for one girl. Espella was only able to be herself when she lived within my story. Oh, the irony of it. Only within a world in which Bezella was real could Espella's tragic memories be sealed. All this while, he was assisting me. I was the first shade. As soon as the story began, I disappeared from the scene. If Espella was to see some magic, then someone had to don this robe. That's the robe of invisibility. I gave Espella new memories so that she could live in this town with everyone else. I also sealed the memory of her friend Eve. What? My existence was too strongly connected to her memory of the fire. Afterwards I returned as Darklaw, a stranger to Espella. But even if you were doing this for Espella's sake, that's just going too far. I made that choice. I do not regret the past 10 years. Meanwhile, my father was supporting Labyrinthia from behind the scenes, in his own way. Do you mean his contributions as an alchemist? My father's knowledge of medicine was indispensable for this town to function. The hallucinogenic ink was my father's work as well. So it was. Newton and Eve sacrificed more than anyone else for the sake of Espella in this town. I will be forever indebted to them. We wanted to save Espella, just like you. But then, there's still something I don't understand. Why were you trying to destroy this fake world? In the end, you chose to betray Espella and Mr. Cantabella. Oh, but I've told you already, have I not? It was your revenge against Mr. Cantabella for choosing to end the story, correct? I wonder whether that was the true reason. Professor? Would Miss Belduke really betray them merely because she did not want the story to end? I dare say there was another considerably more important reason. She had another reason? No need to frown in dismay, Mr. Wright. Please leave this to me. Well, then let's hear what the Inquisition has to say. What other reason led the witness to betray Mr. Cantabella? Can I save? Is it because Espella was her main suspect? No. I'll stop this on a cliffhanger. See you next time.